Hello and welcome to this very quick tutorial about how to put borders on Roman blinds. I've had somebody this week who's struggling with it a little bit, so I thought it might be quite good to do a quick tutorial on it because it's not as difficult as people think it is. You look at some of the books and it's all about sort of 45-degree angles, which of course it is, but it's a bit simpler than that, or you can make it a bit simpler. Anyway, hopefully I will. What you do when you're going to put borders on your Roman blinds, two side borders, easy peasy, but when you put in the mix a third border on the bottom and you want to mitre them, and then what do you do with that contrast fabric, or how do you finish off the back? These are all questions that people worry about. So I'm going to hopefully dispel some of those worries for you. What you do when you're trying to get your correct measurement, when you've got a border on, is to measure the blind, or prep the blind rather, short of your borders. Sounds quite obvious really. I'm going to do a 5 centimetre border all the way around. Sometimes you have to trim it to make sure that your border is the right size, because you can't just add anything to the mix. And if you have a very, very large border all the way around, it just looks like you're short of fabric, to be honest. So you want to try and make it at least look like part of the blind. And I tend to think between 5 and 7 centimetres is probably as much as you want to actually go. Anything less than that and you're probably better off actually overlaying a border, so you've got a little bit of fabric the other side. If you don't want to go with a really big border, something that looks a bit like a grey grain ribbon, actually probably a good idea to actually just buy grey grain ribbon and actually applique it on the front. Anyway, we're going to do this border, and it's, as I say, it's quite straightforward. You prep it up, so you want something nice at the top, and you'll prep up the bottom minus your border. So on this one I've got a 2 centimetre seam allowance prepped up all the way around, and I've made sure that my corners are nice and square, so the whole blind is nice and square. And the other thing I do is right in the corner where I'm about to meet both sides, is I just do a little bit of a mark, because then it's so nice and easy for me under the machine to see exactly where I need to stop and do a couple of back stitches. And then when I put the other part of the border on, I've got the same thing to correspond, and that way it meets in the middle, doesn't overlap, but you don't get a hole, which is useful. So the border that I've just got, or the contrast fabric I've just got, is shredding like mad. I mean, if I was making this on a big blind and I was handling it a lot, I'd actually overlock it. But I'm not doing that today. So what you do is, and this is overly overcut, I overcut my borders, and I do it every time I do this, because I have been caught out before now where I'm just a few mils short. And there's nothing worse, to be honest, because you can't actually get it to where you want it, and if you're blessed with more fabric, terrific, but you've still got to unpick it. So you put right sides together. I've got quite a lot hanging down where we're going to put our mitre, far more than I actually need, but I'd rather trim it up afterwards. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have that facing upwards so that you can machine along that line and finish at this point here. And then you do the same with the hem. Now the hem on, or the bottom part of a Roman blind where you want to put your hem, that's going to be doubled over on the back, so you might want to cut this a bit wider. I mean, this is probably as wide as you'll need, but you do need to make sure that that bottom part of whatever you cut on your contrast is going to be wide enough for you to double it over when you come to do the back. So machine, meet in the corners. In all good tradition of Blue Peter, I have got one prepared that I did earlier to save me having to pause the video, so hold on a second. So here we go. So here's our blind with our 3 pieces on it. There we go, you can see that. And they're caught in the middle. Look at this, it's shredding like mad. It's mad. Okay, I have finished it in that corner. I have folded this little bit up. You don't know quite what to do with that. I wouldn't cut it off unless it's terribly bulky. I've just folded it up and just pressed it. So it's all, that part of it, let me just show you, is all laying flat. Okay, I've just got rid of all of that. I've just pressed it, pressed my seams open here, pressed this little bit up. I've done that on both of them. So let me now show you how you get that mitre without having too much of a fiddle. So once you've got your blind on the table, do double check that it is nice and square. So you want, what's really important are these bits here, really lovely and square. So pop your set square on and just double check that those are nice right angles, which they are. Goodo. Easier on a small blind than it is on a bigger one. Now what you want to do is you want to find out where you're going to come across. Let me just move you a wee bit so you can see. I think that's okay. Let's just move that up a little bit. Hopefully you can see. So this is the bit that we're gonna mark. So this is the bottom. This is your bottom bit for your hem. This is the bit you've got coming over the top. And now, if you use one of these, you can make sure, so I want 5 centimetres, which is here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. So I'm going to just make sure that I've got, where are we? We've got 5 centimetres here and here. Whoops, let me just go the other way. Sorry. Okay. So I have got 5 centimetres, which will be so what you want is you want to go 5 centimetres just beyond this, which will give you your 5 centimetres on this direction, okay, and then you want to go 5 centimetres on this direction, which is going to be there. Just want to make sure where that's going to go, just there, which is great, there and there. Lovely, okay. So this point here, where they marry up, is going to be where your mitre is. Hope you can see that. Okay. So now what you want to do is you want to just take that away, and you want to move this around so that you get to that point. Let me just move that up. I'm going to double check this again in a minute. There we go. That's 5 centimetres, that's there. Again, never just measure once, you've always got to measure 100 times. Okay, so there is there's your line where you're going to mitre it, and it's difficult actually. I'm on this fabric. I'm hoping actually when the video comes out you can actually see that. I'm going to just press it, and then what you're going to use is you're going to use the method that I had for joining, where you go in, out and into there, and in, out and into that crease. If you need to refresh yourself on how I pattern matched it, it's obviously a few blogs down now. I'm literally just gonna get this to a point where I can get it under the machine, and then I'll show you how we do the back. I'll do the other one off camera because you don't need to see me do that one again. But basically what you're doing is you're actually checking where 5 centimetres is here and where 5 centimetres is here, and then you're just turning it under, okay? And then when you come to sew it, you just get all your seams out of the way. That one's just got caught up. And then you machine it from the point where this meets. You can feel it. I mean, it's okay, and even if you have to go back under the machine and just do it a couple of times, machine it right off, okay? So you've got plenty to play with, and then we'll trim it up and I'll show you how to do the back, how the front looks and how to do the back. That's the best way. Hopefully that has been clear enough for you, but obviously as usual, if you have any queries, you need just get in touch with me. Anyway, I'm going to pause the video, get it under the machine, get this bit all sorted out, and then I'll show you how it looks and how the back works. Okay, so I've machined my mitre where I put all my pins in, and this is what you end up with. So you end up with your mitre here and quite a lot of excess fabric, which we'll trim off now because that's the seam. So what I'm going to do is just make sure you can still see it. Trim this up. And you want these corner bits to lay flat. Can you see you've got a little bit of bulk there? What I might actually do is just snip in and just cut a right angle out of them, really, just so that they just sit nice and level. So now what you want to do is you want to get this to 5 centimetres. Obviously I've just had a little play with it. So that's 5 centimetres. So this bit here where it actually, once you've pressed that, that is where you're going to fold it round, and that will be 5 centimetres too, because you've already found that out when you were finding out where the point was on your mitre. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fold it round to that point, and I'm going to measure 5 centimetres, which is there, which is right on the point, which is great. So I'm going to measure 5 centimetres up this way. Just make sure it's 5 centimetres all the way along. That's what I want. Now obviously if you're doing a big Raymond blind, you'd clamp all this and pin it. But I'm only using a little piece of fabric, so I don't want it to be a hugely long tutorial for you, because you'll sort of get the idea. Right. Okay. So that's what you end up with, and on the back on this one I've trimmed up the side because obviously I've got far too much on that side, so I've trimmed that up to 7 and the hem to 10, because that's what I tend to do. I tend to have a double 5 centimetre hem there, and there you've got your nice perfect mitre. Everything's lovely and square. It's square in here, and it's square there, or it's got right down to that point. You've got this coming round on the back like you'd normally do, and then you just sort of tuck that in and slip stitch it, so you've got that point right on the corner, and that's it really. So that's how you do a mitred border. I'm hoping you can have seen exactly what I was doing. I didn't really want to do a close-up on it because the camera often moves, and I think my close-up stand is actually broken, so I need to order a new one. So that's my excuse, but hopefully it's been of help, and if you've got any queries, just get in touch with me, and we can go through it. Take care. See you next time. Bye.